Hi, this is Scott Hansen from the Riffle.blogspot.com. I'm here to do my fourth fly tying tutorial in my Joy of Fly Tying series. This is the fourth fly that I teach in my fly tying classes. It is the Partridge Orange. It is the first fly of the second night of class, so we are building on the skills that we learned in our first three flies, the rubber leg spider, the woolly bugger, and the peacock and brown wet fly. We're going to build on all those skills, and we're going to add in one new skill on this fly, the skill of dubbing. We're going to learn a little bit about dubbing, and we are going to learn how to dub. As you can see on this fly that I have in the vise, I have a kind of a pale orange body and a partridge collar hackle in the front, and there's a little ball of dubbing there. As you can see up behind the hackle, that's just some rabbit fur dubbing, and that's what we are going to learn how to do. I'm going to take this fly out of the vise here. This is a size 14 hook that I have on this finished fly. You can tie these in various sizes, so I have size 10 down to probably 18. We're going to tie it on a size 12 here. You can use any standard nymph or wet fly hook. Like I said, this is a size 12. For this Partridge and Orange, I'm going to use orange thread. This is some A-dot unithread in orange color. And I'm going to start it with my jam knot. A couple of eye lengths behind the eye. And cover up the back part of that hook shank. On wet flies, I don't usually like to make the body go farther back than the hook point, or at least too much farther past the hook point. So I won't go past that, and then I'll bring my thread back up to the front here. The body on this Partridge and Orange is just a single strand of orange rayon floss. This comes in spools of 4 strand usually, which this did, but I just took one strand off. And I always wet the end of the floss a little bit so it doesn't fray too much. As I tie it in, just tie it in there at the front and work my thread back to the hook point area there, and then bring it back up to the front. And as you can see, I've got about 2 eye lengths or so behind the eye, which is where I want to stop my body. I want to leave plenty of room for the ball of dubbing and the hackle in the front. So I'm going to take my orange floss here and just start wrapping it forward. Excuse me. I want this to taper up so it's a little bit bigger towards the front than it is at the back. And as you can see, my floss is kind of fraying there, so that's kind of a bummer, but we'll just work that back. The more I wrap, the better it'll be. And as you can see, I've got a little tapered body, so it's a little bit fatter towards the front. I'll throw my thread over here a couple times, 3 or 4 times, and that'll be in there nice and tight. Trim it off on the top of the hook shank. There's a little loosey-goosey there up on top of the hook. I'll trim that out here in a second. For the dubbing on this fly, I'm going to use some Hare's Ear Plus dubbing from Hairline. This is just regular old rabbit fur blended with some Antron to give it a little bit of sheen, a little shininess. I'm going to take I got that loosey-goosey out. I'm going to take a very small pinch of dubbing out of the bag, and I'm going to get it started here. The one thing with dubbing, the one rule I can tell you about dubbing is less is more. You can always add more dubbing. It's very difficult to take more dubbing off. So if you see this pinch of dubbing I have, I'm going to start out with about a quarter of that. So I'll take about a quarter of that. The way I put dubbing on my thread is to hold it in my on my index finger there on the far side of the thread, away from me. I'll just hold it there with my index finger here. Then I come in with my thumb and I spin that whole little bunch of fur in one direction right around the thread, creating a nice little rope of fur. And if it doesn't go on very easily, I can just wet my fingers a little bit and that will spin on very nicely. There we go. As you can see on this fly, I don't need much because I'm just making a little ball of fur right in the front. So I've got about an inch or so of fur on my thread, and I'm going to wrap it right in front of that orange body. Just wrap it right over itself, make a little ball of fur right there. And I'm going to let my thread hang in front of that ball of fur. Now the only thing left on this fly is to put some hackle on it. So since it's a Partridge Orange, I'm going to select a partridge feather here. I've got a whole cape from a partridge, if you can see that. The whole pelt from a partridge, tons of feathers on there. As you can see, I'm going for a small fly like this, I'm going to use a feather towards the front of the top of the pelt near where the head was on the bird. Partridge has multiple colors of feathers. There's some light feathers, there's some dark feathers. You can choose whatever feather you like. For this fly, I have already plucked off a kind of a darker brown feather. Some people like to tie their soft hackle feathers in by the tips. I just tie it in the way I tie all my other hackle in. I'm going to snip off the fuzzy part here at the butt end of the feather. You want to get rid of that. Excuse me. And now I am going to trim up the side of the stem, leaving little nubbins of fibers there for the thread to hang on to. And I want to tie this feather on. I want to hold it up by the tip because I'm going to tie it in by the butt. I want to hold it on my side of the hook, and I want it to be curved towards the back of the hook as I look at it from the side. You can see now it's curved towards the front, now it's curved towards the back. That's the way I want to do it, and I want to be holding it. So once it's curved towards the back, I'll just hold it on the top of the hook shank right in front of that little ball of fur. Throw my thread over it several times here to get it nice and tight. Trim off any extra stem that's sticking out the front there. There we go. Cover up the butt end of that with some more thread wrap so it's in there nice and tight. And I'm going to take my hackle pliers. Because this feather is so short, it's hard to hold on to with my fingers. Move my vise down a little bit here. And the way I want to grab this with my hackle pliers is I just want to go straight in from the top of the feather and grab it so that I get some of the stem as well. If I just have the fibers, they'll just fall right off of that stem and I will lose it. So I want to take this one wrap right around the front of that ball of fur and the second wrap right in front of that first wrap. Bring it up around one more time, and I'm going to tie that off. Just throw my thread over it with my left hand here, holding onto it with the hackle pliers, and get that tied in 3 or 4 times. And I will trim off the extra stem, the tip of that feather. Now my hackle's kind of crazy looking here, so I can manage that by stroking it back with my left 3 fingers. Just make kind of a surround the hook with my left 3 fingers and pull those back, and I'll make a nice little thread head here, and that will keep the feathers angled backwards a little bit. And once I have a nice little thread head, I can take my whip finisher and do my finishing knot 1, 2, 3, 4 times or so. That should be good. I'll trim my thread, and my partridge and orange is finished. This is a wonderful little wet fly for fishing down and across in trout streams. It just is a great fish catcher. You can tie it in other colors as well. You can tie it in partridge and green, partridge and yellow, partridge and purple. You could try black. Lots of different ways to tie this fly. I think you will have a great fish catching fly if you tie this and fish it. And I hope you liked it. We'll see you next time.